So many of you guys know who've been following me on either Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube, that I am been a type 1 diabetic for 55 years. I think it's really 54, but I've been saying 55 for so long. I'm testing my blood sugar right now. I have a CGM, so sometimes I don't need to test my blood sugar, but sometimes I just want to know for sure, and the meter is always accurate. So I'm testing on a meter. It says 53 on my meter, and on my CGM it says 51. I actually feel more like 51. And if I start to not make sense, I apologize. I've just eaten 3 of my mints, and they are a little slow because they're organic. That's not why they're slow, but they are St. Clair's Organics, and I like the peppermints the best, usually. And that's what I use. Each of them is only 0.75 of a gram. And each one should raise me 5 points. Now this is milligrams per deciliter. And I'm not sure what this would be, and I can't look it up because I'm using my phone right now. But it would probably be like 3 of the other measurements, which is what they use in Canada and some of the other countries. Millimoles. And I don't know why we have to use different measurements. It makes it confusing. Anyway, I thought I would talk about the symptoms of a low blood sugar. I had eaten my lunch, which is a carnivore lunch, so I had a small beef burger and a small lamb burger, and 2 pieces of bacon and a big thing of butter, about an ounce of butter. So it was a big cube. And then I decided after I ate, I took a 1.5 units of R insulin. Now, R is a slower insulin than most people use. Well, most carnivores use R. Most carnivore type 1 diabetics use R. Excuse me. There is no most, really, but there are a lot of faster insulins that people who eat carbohydrates a lot take, or there's fast ones. If you use a pump, you use that kind of insulin, like Humalog or Novolog, mostly. There are like 30 kinds of insulin, different insulins. This is my CGM alarming me that my blood sugar is high, and we both know that because that's what I am talking about. It's still 53. It's probably not going to go lower than that, but I had after I ate my lunch, like I said, I took 1.5 units of R, which isn't a lot, but it is a lot for that, or not a lot, but it's what I thought was the right amount to take for that meal. Then I laid down for a nap. So when I woke up from my nap and finished posting my lunch on Instagram, I got up to walk on my walking pad because I try to walk 10 miles every day. And I had only, even though I had walked to town and back and walked a mile this morning early, I was only, about 3.7 miles. So I'm like, oh, I have a lot to make up for. And it's almost 3 o'clock. So I got on the walking pad and I was watching on YouTube. My TV is right in front of my walking pad. and I was walking on the walking pad and watching a YouTube video about somebody on the carnivore diet. And after, I'm not sure how long I'd been on there, maybe 20 minutes, maybe not, I don't know. I started feeling like my blood sugar was going low. Now that is for me, because a lot of people have different symptoms. For me, it's a feeling of sudden weakness, like my legs aren't going to be able to take another step. So I knew I was going low. I looked at my CGM. It was 51 or something like that. I tested on my meter just now while I was recording. And, so my blood sugar is about 53. I went and I ate 3 of the mints that I told you about. And they're not very fast because they're, natural. They're made with molasses granules. I could use something else that's quicker and probably should, but it's dextrose, and I'm just not sure about it. So some diabetics use juice. I don't use juice because I don't drink juice, and I don't use it. The rule of thumb in the medical type 1 diabetic world is they say, eat 15 grams of carbohydrates and wait 15 minutes. Now, 15 grams of carbohydrates would make my blood sugar completely skyrocket. Like I took about 1.5 units. It will probably get me up to 70, 75, or 80, So say it was 53, and then 5 points for each mint. That's 15 points. That's 60, 65, 70. And I feel pretty good at 70. Sometimes, at different times of day, that would raise me up more than 5 each. Every time of day is a little bit different. And plus, since I'm walking on the walking pad, it might be less, but I'm also ate that food that is slow to digest. So it might come up more. So that's why I didn't take more than 3, even though I feel very uncomfortable right now. And one of the other symptoms besides sudden weakness is confusion. So I was on the walking pad and I'm thinking, with low blood sugar, and I'm thinking that would be kind of funny for people to watch what it's like for a type 1 diabetic while they're low, to see if they can make sense on a YouTube video. I mean, I didn't know if it was going to be funny or just pitiful, but I decided to go ahead and record because there's a lot of people who don't understand, and I'm going to try to explain about blood sugars and type 1 diabetes. A lot of people know that when you're type 1 diabetic, sometimes your blood sugars go low. But I've had questions like, so when your blood sugar goes low, does that mean you need insulin? No. And it's like, I think all people should understand part of what we go through as a type 1 diabetic. So I'm going to try to explain some of the things so that more people can understand this. Because I've been asked about this so many times, and some people understand, but most people don't. If you don't have a close friend or a family member or you don't yourself have type 1 diabetes, then you might have no reason to understand that. So then when you learn about somebody who has type 1 diabetes, you are ill-informed. You don't know. So I'm going to try to explain why my blood sugar is still low. Oh, it's already up to 63, so I'm going to be fine. My favorite blood sugar, the most comfortable, is about 80. I really like 80. Dr. Bernstein, who's a genius, was a genius. He died this year at like 92 or something like that. I don't know. I don't remember exactly what he was. He might have been 90. He considers 83 to be like perfect blood sugar. And that was a average of blood sugar from the healthy people who came into his medical office to sell him pharmaceuticals. So with all the pharmaceutical reps who were healthy, he would take their blood sugar. And the most common blood sugar was 83. So that's how he decided that 83 was the best blood sugar. And so you spend your life, like every time your blood sugar is 83, you're like, ooh, I did it. But I feel really good at 80, 85. And he's right. 83 is like perfect blood sugar because you feel so good at it. Okay, so type 1 diabetes means that you had an event in your life, either an autoimmune attack or an illness or something that killed the beta cells of your pancreas. The beta cells are the cells that produce insulin. So those cells, or most of them, were killed off. And I'm not going to get into that we all wish we could figure out how to make our beta cells come back alive, but they're dead. And they're not working, and they're just not working. So that means that your body doesn't produce insulin, which means that your blood sugars would go very high. So that's the main symptom of type 1 diabetes, is high blood sugars. Now, when you're first diagnosed, the usual symptoms are excessive thirst and urination and losing weight. Those are the three most common symptoms of coming down with type 1 diabetes. There's other symptoms as in lethargy, fatigue, and crossness, just feeling crummy. I was sick for an entire year before I was finally diagnosed, but I had this 2 week. In 2 weeks, I lost 15 pounds, and I was extremely thirsty, and I was peeing a lot. And because my mom had taken me to the doctor, I was 16 at the time. My mom had already taken me to the doctor from feeling bad, and the doctor made fun of her, rolled his eyes, and, insulted her basically for bringing her child into the doctor. So she was afraid to take me to the doctor from just feeling bad and being thirsty and peeing a lot, until I started spotting between my periods in my underwear. So she said, okay, I'm going to take you to a gynecologist. And it was like, that was somehow safe because it wasn't the family doctor who had made fun of her. Now, this was 1971. We all had a family doctor. Everybody did. You had a guy that you went to anytime your kids were sick. So he was we didn't want to go back to him because he had already made fun of her and rolled his eyes at me and gave me a B12 shot and sent me home. That's what he did because I was feeling so bad, and he had no other. Anyway, we don't need to go into that. I already have a video about my diagnosis story. So we went to the gynecologist, and the gynecologist diagnosed me by smelling my breath. There was a heavy smell of ketosis on my breath. It smells like fruit. And then he tested my urine sugar, and it was very high, and he said, I think you have type 1 juvenile. Back then it was called juvenile diabetes. and he sent me to, and there were no such thing as 1971. There were no endocrinologists. He sent me downstairs to the what was the name of that doctor? The name of the doctor was an internist. So I went to an internist. I was diagnosed, and he says, go home, right? Go home and come back to the hospital in the morning and we'll admit you. I could have died. That was really stupid to send me home, but he did. So anyway, I didn't die. So I went to the hospital in the morning and went through the whole thing of learning about type 1 diabetes. Oh, I'm sorry. This was called juvenile diabetes at the time. They renamed it sometime in the 80s. I don't remember, but it was, they named type 1 and type 2 diabetes in the 80s. So anyway, I had to learn how to give myself shots of insulin. The insulin it helps to keep your blood sugars in a normal range. It replaces the insulin that was discovered in 1920 or 21, and they figured out how to make it, and that's a whole nother story too. So you take insulin to keep your blood sugars from going too high. It's very, 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 very hard to keep your blood sugars even. Because food raises your blood sugar, stress raises your blood sugar, lack of sleep raises your blood sugar, lack of exercise raises your blood sugar, grief raises your blood sugar, the weather can raise your blood sugar. So anyway, a lot of things can raise your blood sugar. Being upset and stressed, your liver can produce glucose to raise your blood sugar when you're sick. So anytime you're sick, your blood sugar. Anyway, insulin shots, insulin can lower your blood sugar. But the reason why type 1 diabetics have to always carry food with them or something to raise their blood sugar, because sometimes you miscalculate. You can be off by just a little bit and your blood sugars can drop too low. So it's a constant balance, a constant battle to keep your blood sugars from going too high or going too low. I wonder if this makes sense to everybody. I hope that it makes sense. That's what I was trying to explain. And that's why, so just half a unit for me, like a syringe. Here's one on my table. There's always syringes around. Those little marks are tiny. I can't see them without my reading glasses on. They're tiny. And 1 unit will lower my blood sugar 60 points, if nothing else is going on. Half of a unit, which I often take half units, will lower my blood sugar about 30 points. These are all estimations. These are all educated guesses. That's what it means to be a type 1 diabetic, is that you've got to be really good at educated guesses. And you can't expect your endocrinologist or your doctor to understand all this fully and help you. You've got to educate yourself. You've got to pay attention. You've got to be alert. And there are so many different diets that people try to help with with what goes on with type 1 diabetes. There's a lot of different diets I've tried over the years. I've told y'all all about that. So it's very, very tricky. See how much I'm really making sense now, right? I feel pretty good. 67. I'm feeling pretty good. Look at this graph, how it was really low. And that, you know what, I wonder if I can change that to 1 hour. Oh, here's my 1 hour graph. So can you see that? I think you can see that. It's below the red line, it means it was low. That's the last hour, but it's coming back up. You can see right there, it's coming back up. I can also change this to 3 hours. I can change it to 6 hours. So anyway, I'm going to put it back on 3 hours. That's what I usually have, 3 hours, 67. So I wish this was like a question and answer kind of thing. I should have done this on YouTube Live, but I didn't, because usually it takes people a little longer to know that, I don't have as many subscribers to get a big, and I didn't announce it ahead of time. So I'm going to put this on, and if y'all want me to get on and do a pre-announced live about this, I could do that. But anyway, I wanted to remind everybody that I do group coaching. I slashed the price. It's only $20 a month now, and it starts at the first of each month. So in January, it'd be a good time to join. It is for type 1 diabetics, type 2 diabetics, anybody with insulin resistance, or anybody who's just interested in learning about the carnivore diet and wants to stay accountable. Because what we have is a Zoom call each week. Right now it is Thursday nights at 7. If as a group we wanted to change it, we could, but right now that's when it is. And it's been at that time since I started last year. So it's only $20 a month, and we have the Zoom call once a week. I could add more Zoom calls if it was needed, but people are so busy these days that they, usually just one is enough. We also have a WhatsApp group, so we can talk to each other like any time of the day or night. Now, you can turn your notifications off and you won't be bothered in the middle of the night unless you want to be. And nobody really talks during the night. But we can talk about things that are concerning to us. We can share pictures of our food. We can share videos about the carnivore diet or some issue that we're having. We can commiserate. We can support. It's a great group, and it has really helped all my group members. So the groups are small, so you get to speak with each other and me. You won't just be, one in the crowd. You'll be noticed, and I can, when we all help each other. But I've been on the carnivore diet for 7 years, and I've been on a low-carb diet since 1996, a very low-carb diet since 1996, and I've been a type 1 diabetic, like I said, since 1971. However, April of 1971. And I've been researching health and nutrition since about 1976, and I am certified KILTS health coach, keto carnivore coach. So I've got my certification. I took all the tests and passed. So anyway, I love this work. I love my group members, and I hope you'll join us. It's awesome. And I'm going to shut up before I get alarmed again. My blood sugar is 67 still. Well, that's cool. Thank you for your help, and I will be posting this on YouTube right away. And I'll just, if you want to ask me anything or you want to join the group, find me on Instagram or Facebook, or message me on YouTube, and I will get back with you. And Facebook Messenger DM me on Instagram. Anyway, get in touch with me. And I will see you soon. Thank you so much.